Hello everyone, this is Wrestling Watcher, a YouTube channel. It's about watching professional wrestling. So MJF versus Kenny Omega, a dynasty. I'm slowly trying to watch more AEW content, and I find this to be a really interesting match. You know, Kenny Omega sort of coming to the end of his career. He says this himself. You know, he suffered from diverticulitis. He lost, I think he said, 24 inches of his intestines. But he's still, I think, a draw for that company, right? Then on the other hand, you have MJF, who is the top heel, the biggest star in AEW, and is slowly but surely kind of seemingly bringing the ratings back to that company. So it's a good match. And I think, you know, traditional logic, traditional wisdom would say that this is a win for MJF. That he's going to retain this title and hold on to it a little while longer, right? But at the same time, Kenny Omega did put over MJF before. And I think we as fans know that MJF is a team player. So he'd probably be willing to put Kenny Omega over for the championship. And there's also the fact that Swerve Strickland is still there. And him and Kenny Omega have this feud going on, right? So maybe you want Kenny Omega to win and then go into the next program with Swerve Strickland as the champion. That's another possibility. There's also the idea that I think fans want Kenny Omega to have at least one more run with a world championship before he inevitably retires or disappears or slows down or goes part-time or whatever the case may be, right? I mean, Kenny Omega he's an interesting performer to me because he's over with that crowd. And, you know, I think they want to see him get at least one more. Which makes it kind of the perfect recipe for an upset victory. And I think that could be a good thing. Doesn't necessarily need to be a long run. I don't think, even if Kenny Omega wins, it wouldn't be one of those reigns where it's like, you know, 9-10 months or something like that, where it's this long title reign. But I do think this match has a little bit of, well, there's a chance, right? Because usually with these title matches, you can kind of tell that the champion's going to retain for a while. Now look, sometimes they throw surprises at you, right? They definitely have their choice of when they want a transitional champion, someone who's not going to hold the title for a long time. They seemingly tend to go with Samoa Joe. He's held that championship a couple times now, and it's been more in a transition way. You know, the one MJF title one was the longest one in the history of the company, so. And now MJF is more established than he was even then, so it's sort of let's just leave the title on him and produce good television. But at the same time, Kenny Omega is kind of the sympathetic babyface that the fans, at least the AEW fans, will get behind. Which makes, as I said, an upset potential. Thanks, guys. That's all for this one. Bye.